mention one thing on the grammar quiz. I handed the grammar quiz back, and I have to say, you guys did a really good job on it. Usually, I have a bunch of people that we need to go over. But there's one word that we need to talk about, and nobody, although you guys did really well, nobody got 100%. And for all of the people, if they just missed one, it was the same one, okay? And it's kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and hand these back to who came in late, and so they can see what's going on here. That's Nikki, that's a compliment. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so if you can look these over and see which ones you missed, I did go ahead and correct them. Okay. Here's the one that if anybody just missed one, it was this one. What's wrong with that? Number.
Is it spelled wrong?
What?
Is it spelled wrong?
No, it's not spelled wrong. And that's kind of an, like I said, that's kind of an interesting thing about this exercise. Like I said, when I teach this exercise in my grammar class, we actually spend 3 weeks on it, and we have one test on commonly confused words, which are words like this, where both of them are spelled correctly, but they're not used correctly. Then we have the flat-out misspelled words, which are ones like this. This is what we say because that's what we hear. We probably will do this, okay? And it's not spelled that way. And then there are the ones that are totally different words. Then there's the usage ones like this. And then there are totally different words like this. Okay? Well, that's not a good example because that's one of those common ones. Then this is an odd one. It's kind of in its own category. So what we need to do is, like we did before, let's look that up on dictionary.com. And then if you get out that handout I gave you that says things to look for in your dictionary entries that indicate that you can't use the word in your formal writing, we'll see if it has one of those. Okay, so, and you know when you type in a variation of a word, like conversative, the past tense conversating, the gerund, what you will come up with is the root word, conversate, right? Okay, so let's look that up. Now this is kind of an interesting one. You'll notice that right off the bat, we have conversate. So again, it is in the dictionary, all right? Like we said, ain't is in the dictionary. But you notice what it says there, non-standard, except in some dialects. And as we know, dialect, that's kind of that statement, non-standard except in some dialects, is kind of a double negative in itself because we can't use dialect in standard English, so what that's saying is non-standard except when it's non-standard, so it really doesn't kind of make any sense for us. And this is what it means, right? Okay, but this is kind of an interesting one, and this is another thing I want to point out to you about dictionary.com. It has this interesting little history of it, okay? And it tells when it first came into the language. And they're saying it was as long ago as 1970, 75, which is kind of interesting because I didn't start noticing it in student papers until about here, until about 2000. So it says the use of conversate has soared since 2000, mostly in speech. Okay, like we said, we're looking for the difference between your informal spoken English and your formal written English. It's a back formation from conversation. So you would think a conversation is a thing, so what you do when you have a conversation is conversate, but that's not it, okay? So it has some interesting, it has some examples. This is an interesting, these are some interesting things. This is where, I don't know if you hear this thing. This is a problem with dictionary.com, has all these ads and stuff. It has some related quotations. The connections that a 17-year-old Latina made between her personal growth and her interactions with one of her teachers were very powerful, and the audience of the Ivy League school were in awe of her. All but one, the one who had only listened to her use of non-standard English. As she stated, in our class we conversate with the teacher. Okay, so this is a woman at a, what's an Ivy League school? What are they talking about when they say Ivy League school? Is this an Ivy League school? Ivy League is the big, important, very expensive, very hard to get into colleges back east. Actually, Stanford is sometimes considered an Ivy League school. Harvard, Yale, those kind of schools, the big four-year colleges. So this is a conversation about it, and it came from. This is what I find really interesting, more so than just this itself. This is by somebody who is a Latina, and she says, "Why can't we conversate?" So what this is saying that in the Ivy League school they're telling her not to use this word. So this is an interesting resource. This Alicia Reyes, whatever it is, it must be a paper, an article, says silencing and alienation of Latinos and African Americans in school setting. So this is kind of an interesting thing. If we went to look at this article, which I think we can do, we can't look at the whole article. I guess we can. We'd have to find that somewhere. This person is arguing, why can't we use these words? If we use them in informal communication, why can't we use them in formal communication? So far the answer is no, but that may change down the road. Okay. This other one is, so this, it's interesting, what I found interesting was the titles of these articles that these quotes appeared in. This person is arguing that by not allowing students to use these words, you are alienating their roots, where you got this word from. This person, you can tell from the article of this person's thing, conversate is not a word, getting away from ghetto. So one person is arguing, why can't we use this word in the school? And this person is saying, if you use words like that, you are identifying yourself as a non-standard user and thus being viewed as being less educated. So there's these arguments, okay, one way or the other with some of these words. So far, in academic writing in colleges, as long as these words are marked as non-standard, you can't use them in your papers. Feel free to go ahead and use them in your speech. I'm not trying to change the way you speak, but it's not a word that you can use in academic writing. Does that make sense? So this is kind of interesting that all of this is right in that dictionary entry. It doesn't just tell us the meaning of it, it tells us information. This person says it's not about a word at all. It's about us. It's about excellence. No one is saying you must speak and act correctly at all times, but unfortunately, lots of us don't know when the hell those times are anymore or exactly what speaking and acting correctly mean, and worse, they don't care. So that's more my approach to it. You guys need to care in order to be viewed as someone who has gone to college, okay? So, again, but again, it's an argument, and we, you know, that's what we've been talking about here. I don't say this person is wrong. I think this is a very interesting argument, but we want to be seen as speaking well. Okay, so that's just like I said, that always happens. That's always the one that if anybody dismisses one, they miss that one. So so what would we say here? Would you say Joe and Saul usually spend Saturday conversing with each other? What word would you probably use there that's a more common word? Communicating, talking. They spend, that's really what you want there. Joe and Saul usually spend Saturday talking with each other. We don't usually say we're conversing with somebody. We usually just say talking. Does that make sense? So that was one of the reasons that's difficult, is this word is so unfamiliar to us. So we take that one. Okay? But otherwise, like I said, people did really well, and if you did miss another one, this person didn't, that's the only one they missed. Look at it and make sure you understand why what you circled is wrong. Okay? Okay, now let's look at the journal.
Do you have the topics for the last two journals? Do you have the topics for the last two journals?
Can somebody answer Jacob's question?
Online. I couldn't find
Did you hear what Anna Rissa said? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that's what we need to look at. If we look at, oops. I'm getting things up as we go here. Make this easier for you guys to use. Okay. So if we look at, so here it is up for today. Oops, number 3. We're going to talk about what this means and how you're going to answer it. But first, if we look at the syllabus, which I hope everybody is doing, like I said, before and after class every day. So your homework, remember I said the homework, there's nothing actually physically due today, except your assignment was to get at least to your topic sentence. Most of you could be farther along because the peer review is day after tomorrow. But today I am going to have everybody come and put their topic sentence on the board so that we can talk about the topic sentences. Okay? Okay, so what we need to look at for next class meeting is not only do you need to turn your drafts in at the start of class like we did before, and then I'll distribute them. We also, this day is going to be journal check number 1. Journal entries that are made after 10 a.m. on Thursday, February 6th will not be counted. Now, you'll notice I don't have, people who've had me before, it doesn't say journal check 1 here because you're not, in this class, we're not handing or we're not setting journals down here. What I'm going to do is, so I'm not going to take any time in class to check them, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look online. At this point, you will receive a grade for the journal, okay? As of 10 minutes ago, I have a little list here. As of 10 minutes ago, here it is. There were 25 people in class. There were 15 people who had put the first journal entry up. And 2 people, oops, I'm sorry, 8 people who had put the second journal up. So a lot of people, and then you also need to do this one by Thursday. So a lot of people have a lot of work to do. Almost half the class has to write 900 words by day after tomorrow. Does that make sense to people?
No.
You see what happens when you don't do it week by week? now you've got to hustle and write 900 words by 10 o'clock on Thursday, okay? This doesn't, this, again, this is the first time I'm doing this, so this is an experiment for me too. I don't have, so if you see this on here, and this is a little bit misleading. For one thing, I'm not doing the grades online, although I will enter a grade on this one. This says editing period ends Monday, June 8th, so you look at that and say, oh, I have all kinds of time to do that. But remember, I leave that open because this is one thing. I don't accept late assignments, but people who don't have this done by Thursday still have to do it. So this is left open all semester. If you don't have the 3 journal topics done by Thursday, you will get a bad grade on that journal check, but that doesn't mean you're going to fail the class. However, if you get up to the end of the semester and you still haven't done them, then you will fail the class. So on Monday, June 8th, I think that's a little bit late. I think it's more like, I have to get in and fix that. It's the last, it's on your syllabus, it's the last day to turn in journals. That's after the semester's over. Then you get an F on the journal and F in the class. So you have to keep up, like I say, because you guys have 300 words a week, so you have to do it every week. But there's, on this one, there's no, there's nothing coming along and saying this is late, because it is open until the end of the semester. And you have to go in there and do each one. Does that make sense? Again, I'm working with this. I may change that later. I may have each one of these closed. Have you guys noticed when you go on here that there's a, this one I did, and it would come up here if I did this. I do have a due date on that. So it comes up at the side of your NPC Online that says narrative paragraph. How many people are taking other classes that have online assignments? Is anybody, okay. Do those all show up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I'm actually taking a class on how to do this. So if I go into that class, this is my class where I'm taking to learn how to do this. And that has, you see, here's all my stuff that I have to do in that other class. I have to do the syllabus lesson, and I have to do a discussion forum. So you guys should be seeing all that stuff up there. Yeah, so again, I'm learning to do this while you guys are. So this is what's up there that I actually do have a due date on. But because I don't have a due date on the journal, it doesn't show up over there. So we'll see how that works. I may do that just so it'll show up over there and remind you. And also the calendar, I was looking at the calendar this morning, doesn't show up here because this is your due date for next time. It doesn't show up because we're moving over to another month. So there's some, there's some things that are good and some things that are bad. Okay, so the first 2 journal entries, if you have not done those, you need to get on NPC Online, and they are in. So we started assigning it the 2nd week, so you look for the journal topics as they're here. Okay. So that's 1, 2, and then 3 that I just put up. Every week, starting the 2nd week. Okay, so this quote, the first 2 quotes that I had were from professional writers. And some of you, I've been responding to your journal entries as you do them, which is another really good thing for me, because then I don't have to sit up here and try to read everything while you guys are doing your peer review, because I can look at them as you go. Some people have had some really good insights, especially to that most recent one about writing, taking you places you hadn't realized. A couple of people, their first sentence is, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to respond to this journal topic. Then by the time they were done, they had come up with a couple of really good topics for papers. And I said, see, this is exactly what the journal topic says. Once you start writing, even though you think, oh, I can't think of anything to write, once you start, just the act of typing or handwriting, you're going to think of something. Okay, so those are really good. Those two were more geared specifically toward writing. This is geared more toward success in college. Okay. And success in life, I think, too. So we just talked about the importance of thinking about your language as far as being a college student. Thinking about being able to communicate with people in a more standard fashion to indicate that you have been educated. Okay, it is. People, your writing is what people see of you, and what you speak is what people understand of you. So you want to think in terms of that. So what about this in terms of your career as a college student, your future work life, your success, your general success? This one says, if you're early, you're on time. Some of you have seen this one before, I know, because I use it in all my classes. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired. Okay? What does that mean? A couple of those statements seem like they're contradictory, right? What does it mean if you're early, you're on time? Let's take the first sentence. What is this guy saying by that? Sandra?
It means that you want us to be ready, 10 minutes before the start of class, kind of?
Okay, yeah. If you're early, you're on time. Okay, they kind of say, well, but if I'm on time, I'm on time. Okay? Here's what happens. If you plan to get to class right at 10, if that's how you're doing your schedule, what's going to happen? Something's going to go wrong. There's going to be traffic. You're going to forget something at home and have to go back. Okay? So the people I consider to really be on time are the people waiting out here in the aisle. Those people have learned this first part. Be somewhere early. Okay, Jacob and Andrew, I'm going to move people who are talking if you don't stop talking. Okay? So what this guy is saying, and here's another thing. This person isn't a writer, but by just knowing who he is, Vince Lombardi, who many of you know because the Super Bowl trophy is still named for him, right? Okay? Obviously, he is a successful person. He's no longer living, but he succeeded in life, right? So we can say, yeah, he's somebody I should listen to on ideas about how to succeed. Okay, if you're early, you're on time. So his message there is be early in order to get the most out of what you're doing. If you're on time, you're late. That's the one that our brains kind of don't want to, they say, what? So what is that saying? If you're just on time, you're late. What is that saying to you as a student? Let's look at my green sheet, because my green sheet basically says the same thing. Without having, I actually hadn't read this quote when I made up the green sheet. Okay. Here's what my green sheet says. Class begins at 10. If you are not in your seat, ready to work at 10, you are tardy. So that's kind of what he's saying too. If you're just on time, if you're walking in the door at 10, I may have already taken roll. Okay, a lot of people argue with me about that. They say, I've never been late. And I say, you know what, I take roll at 10. If you're not in your seat at 10, you're late. Okay? So that's kind of saying exactly the same thing. And for him, if you're late, you're fired. For our purposes, if you're continually late, 3 tardies equals an absence. If you get 4 absences, you're gone. So you're fired in class. Okay? Does that make sense? So what I would like you to do with this as far as responding to it, you have to A, tell me what you think it means. You may have a slightly different interpretation. And then B, tell me how you think it applies to you in college, in your work, on your team, whatever team you're on, or in other aspects of your life. Okay? If you don't get 300 words, so double check your entries. I have gotten pretty good here at, although again, this is a learning experience for me too. So when I look and see these things, this is very slow today. So I can see there are 8 journal entries for number 2. This is the thing about this, and I've been taking that class. It just is slow. Okay, so this is a good entry. This, I think, is about 300 words. This is a little bit short. I need to get in, and I will tell this, I will feed back to you and say, so there's some that I haven't responded. I know I responded to those. I guess I didn't say that. Okay, this is pretty good. So I'm beginning to get to where I can kind of see, yeah, that's about 300 words. But if they look short, I'm going to get back in and say, you need to add something else. So you can add something else there. You can write about something else. You can go back to one of the other ones. That's why I'm leaving them all open. Because maybe you didn't get 300 words today, but you thought about something else about that first one. You can go back in there and add to the first one. Does that make sense? So that's one of the reasons I'm not putting a due date on it, because I want you to be able to get back in there. Once I put a due date, if you notice on the on this, let's see, here is the descriptive paragraph. So this works pretty well. And I'm also, if you notice, I'm also now indented all these things. So I have this heading, I can put this heading in, and everything under there. So if you click on the description paragraph now, which was the one that was due first, it says no more submissions accepted. So if you tried to go in there and submit that one now, you couldn't do it. The narrative one is still open. So this one does have a deadline. Okay? Okay, so any questions about the journal or the journal check? So people who've had me before, this is a little bit different. Before I make a big deal about people walking into class and setting their journals down at the start of class. This time, we're not going to do that. Yours was, so I can still tell what time you put it in, even though there's not a submission. Your journal needs to be there by 10 o'clock on Thursday. If it's not, you're not going to get credit for it. Okay? What does that mean to my grade? That's usually what somebody asks at this point. What if I don't write? What if I haven't done any of them and I can't get 900 words written by Thursday? Okay? That is another thing. And what I do in this class, like I said, I don't have the grades online because I don't, that's too much for me to learn. That's a very complicated thing, getting the grades all counting the same thing. What I usually do, so we're in week 4, so every 4 weeks, so like at midterm and then at the quarter of the semester, I give you a grade sheet. So on this day, I do them at the end of the 4th week. So on this day, I will have a grade sheet for you that tells you what you're missing, what your grades are, and then what I do in the 301s is if I haven't been getting work from you, you need to have an appointment. So I have a little appointment sheet. You can always come to my office and talk to me, but I kind of require people who look like they're having trouble at this point in the semester to come and have a conference with me, kind of find out what's going on and why you're not doing stuff. Okay? So we'll do that on the beginning of the 5th week. Okay. Now, we need to get off of this housekeeping stuff. There's all this housekeeping stuff. And some of these people, I think, are maybe not coming back. It always happens. A handful of people, just like I said, they get in and they realize that they have signed up for too many units or just aren't ready to do this. And they disappear. Okay, so Lisa is not here. Okay. Now, we need to talk about the, let's see, I always like to talk to my classes about where we've been and where we're going, okay? So the best way to look at this is in here. A little early to do this because we haven't been very many places yet. But if you remember, we're working through these strategies for developing essays, otherwise known as writing modes, okay? And a couple of these, you notice I have crossed off. There just isn't enough time to do everything in this class. So we're not going to do these 2 chapters in this class, but we will talk about them a little bit. And then I'm adding one at the bottom that we'll talk about. I'm actually adding 2 at the bottom. One isn't on there. And then you notice over at the side here, I did this in another semester, I've written 2 other writing strategies. One is analysis, and the other is argument, which we already know about. So basically, I'm saying, this line is drawn down here, I'm saying on all of these writing modes, you are automatically doing 2 others, analysis and argument. So in other words, these 2 papers that we worked on, the description, you just had to describe something, describe this room. The narration, you just had to tell a story. At first glance, that's easy. Oh, good, I've just described this water bottle. It has a blue label, it has water in it, has a white top, okay? So we learned that in order to make it into an academic paper, you have to say something about this water bottle that becomes an argument. And that's kind of a hard thing to get your head around. What am I arguing about this water bottle? How can you possibly have an argument about the water bottle? Okay? So, but most of you did that. Whatever you describe, you start out by saying, this is the most beautiful place, this is a scary place, this is an unfriendly place. You had some idea of an argument. Okay, so on that one, we want to just kind of remind you of this language that the book uses and that I use. So in the descriptive paper, the topic sentence, anyone remember what that was called, what they called argument in the
Dominant?
Dominant impression. Good. What is your dominant impression? In this paper, it's called, Sandra?
The point of the story?
Okay. So, and this is what I'm calling, kind of on both of these, I'm calling argument. And also, we don't think of a descriptive paragraph as being an analysis, but basically that's what you're doing, is you're stating an argument, and then the rest of the supporting details in that paragraph are an analysis of your dominant impression. Why is the diner unfriendly? Okay, why is this hot fudge sundae so beautiful? Okay. Does that make sense? So that's your analysis. It's a kind of a strong word to use for a paper about a hot fudge sundae. How can you analyze a hot fudge sundae? But that's in effect what you're doing. So we need to think about that same thing as we're looking at these narrative paragraphs. One of the things I do want to mention, so what we want to work on today is making sure, I want to make sure everybody is at least at the point of having a strong, argumentative topic sentence for your narrative paragraph. One thing I want to point out about there was a little bit of a problem in the Brinks homework, and I realized we worked very quickly on both of those homework. The diner we looked at a little more closely than this. So basically, this is kind of, in a sense, this was kind of difficult because you hadn't read the paragraph yet. This is this homework. You hadn't read the paragraph yet, and they stated here, here's the topic sentence of a narrative paragraph. Okay, the crash of a Brinks truck on the Miami overpass still raises disturbing questions. And then they're asking you, what's the point of this narrative? Okay, the point is, and reading students will recognize this, what they're looking for when they ask for the point of the story is a main idea. What is the main idea of the story? So what I wrote on a lot of people's papers here was, this person wrote down, what is the point of this narrative? A crash of a Brinks truck. Okay, that's not the point of the story, that's the topic of the story. Okay, so we were able to look at Sandra's paper because she had a draft already done last week. We were able to look at Sandra's paper the other day. Do you remember what that paper was about? We just looked at it very briefly. Remember we looked at the first and last sentence? Yeah, it was how the way she became deaf and what she has learned from that experience with her family. Okay, so her topic is her deafness. But the point of her story is, through the interactions with her family about that, she has learned something. Okay, she's learned who she is. Remember that? Okay. One other person, so when I go to this, one other person has sent one in. So you guys see, so I've got 2 submitted. And here's what it looks like to me on here. Edward didn't come up. So here's Sandra's. It says this person has submitted one, and she submitted a couple of drafts. And I actually sent it back to her in email, but I also sent it back to her here just for record. So I've actually looked at 2 drafts of hers. So this is where I sent them back, feedback files. Okay. And then, so I wish they would have this all on one page. That's my own problem. Okay, so this person has sent one in. Okay, oh, it looks like you already got back and did another one. I also added a comment. I don't know whether those pop up for you or whether you have to click that. But here's what I sent back to him. Okay. Okay, so let's look and see if we can figure out whether he has an argument here. First dates can always be intense, and you never know how they will turn out. This is my opinion on how my first date with my girlfriend went. Did that have an argument in it, but the way he had it at first? No. So what I told him was, forget that. Because the second sentence where he says, our date was great and I enjoyed it, does that have an argument? Yeah, that has an argument. This is called, remember, this is called a soft argument. I'm not looking for you to have a knockdown, drag-out fight with somebody about this argument. He's just saying it's great. The girlfriend might say, no, it wasn't great, okay? So that is definitely an argument. So what I've told him to do here, you can say first dates can always be intense and you never know how they will turn out, but our date was great and I enjoyed it. So he combines those 2 sentences. He has a good topic sentence. Then the rest of it, he's describing, he plans it. It's a Thursday night. He made sure the timing was right. So in other words, he's analyzing what it was that made that date great. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. Okay? And there's, you can kind of, again, you can kind of see the way my comments will look when we get these back. Okay? So what I would like to do for the rest of the class today, actually, because we're going to do some pretty good analysis here, I would like to, let's see, how many people have a topic sentence? This always happens. I did. Okay, some people do. 3 people do. 4 people do. 5, 6. Okay, good. 7. That's pretty good. Okay, so what I would like you to do is I would like to give time for the rest of the people to get one written. So guess what? If you haven't gotten started on your paper yet, your draft is due for review on Thursday. So if you don't have a topic sentence written yet, you need to get out a piece of paper or your worksheet and write one. So I'm going to give you a few minutes before the break to get one written, and I'm going to come around and see, and if you have one, I'm going to come around and look at it. Then we're going to put them up on the board, and we're all going to look at them and see what the class thinks of them. Okay? All right, so you have your worksheet. I should have your worksheet. So what I would like you to do, what I would like you to do is get out the narrative paragraph worksheet and start working on it. Okay, so you're going to pick a topic. You're going to tell me what point you're trying to make.
What?
Then you're going to do this. Right?
We're just going over it.
Okay, well, you're going to wait till I let you work, okay?
Oh, my bad.
Do you have your events? This is your pre-writing, okay? So we want to have at least down to here. Here's what you're going to find. My emphasis in this class is that first sentence, because once you have that first sentence, the rest of your paper is going to come together very easily, okay? So I'm going to come around and look at what people have.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
I have a question. Does it matter how long it could be? Does it matter how long?
The paragraph,
Yeah.
you read your directions. It tells you the directions. Okay, it should. Okay, okay, good. That's good. On the first page, good. So you're going to